I tried to find the most normal SpongeBob episode from every season. Not the funniest, not the most iconic, just the most painfully average. The one makes you think, yep, that could happen in real life episode. And let me tell you, this was a nightmare, like trying to find a salad at Taco Bell. Technically possible, but spiritually, no. This show is 50% chaos, 30% unhinged comedy, and 20% screaming. It's weird. It's bizarre. It makes zero sense. And unironically, that's the real reason why we love it. But today, we're doing the impossible. We're digging through 14 plus seasons of sea madness to find the few rare normal moments. Believe it or not, it gets weirder before it gets normal. Let's start with the beginning, the most normal season of SpongeBob. Out of the first 20 episodes of SpongeBob, Employee of the Month is practically the most normal. This episode is literally just two co-workers fighting over a meaningless title and slowly unraveling into sleep-deprived lunatics. So yes, extremely relatable. And look, this is basically your average office rivalry. It's the SpongeBob version of that one dude who sends Slack messages at 3 a.m. trying to impress the boss. And for once, the world isn't ending. There's no jellyfish revolution, no gigantic monster attacking the city. Just two employees beefing over a plastic plaque that probably smells like grease and disappointment. Still has cartoon antics, but this episode could honestly happen at a Wendy's. Also, shout out to Squidward for being so done with SpongeBob that he's willing to set his house on fire just to win. Normal behavior? Absolutely not. Relatable behavior? Sadly, yes. The other one I could think of is Boating School. This episode is built around a very simple, normal concept. SpongeBob wants to pass his driving test. That's it. No multiverse, no freaky fish cult, just one sponge, one boat. We've got Mrs. Puff, the human embodiment of every exhausted teacher ever, trying to get this overachieving maniac to chill out enough to operate a vehicle. You've got Patrick, playing the role of the bad idea friend, literally feeding SpongeBob lines through a walkie-talkie, and surprise, it goes off the rails. But compared to the rest of the season, like say SB-129, where Squidward travels through time and space and ends up in a void of existential horror, those two episodes are a cozy little slice-of-life sitcom. This is SpongeBob with training wheels on. It's still goofy, but there's structure, there's logic, a bit of cartoon madness, sure, but it's still the kind of weird you could explain to your mom. And that won't last long. For Season 2, we have Squid's Day Off. The episode is quite straightforward. Mr. Krabs yeets himself into a coma over a penny, so he leaves Squidward in charge of the Krusty Krab. Sounds normal, right? Now, Squidward does what any of us would do given a little bit of power and a lot of SpongeBob. He dips. But every time he tries to relax, his overactive brain kicks in like, hey, what if SpongeBob just burned the entire restaurant down because he couldn't find the pickles? This episode is literally just anxiety. It's Squidward spiraling into paranoid delusions about SpongeBob ruining everything. And like, who can't relate? That's not even a SpongeBob plot. That feels like a real day in retail hell. Also, the scene where Squidward runs across Bikini Bottom in a bathrobe like a man freshly released from the asylum? Emmy-worthy. Any better options? Technically, Big Pink Loser is a contender. It's about Patrick trying to get his life together by copying SpongeBob. Again, relatable, it's a midlife crisis in starfish form. But Patrick literally glues a Krusty Krab to his forehead, so there goes that. Your shoes untied? Nah, we watched SpongeBob forget how to use his feet. For 7 minutes, the stakes are socks. So yeah, Squid's Day Off are your best bets for Season 2 sanity. And this is where it hit me personally. This show isn't just weird, it's somehow psychological. This isn't about frying patties anymore. It's about mental collapse, paranoia, and SpongeBob being one misplaced pickle away from burning the world down. This is clearly not normal, at least for a kid's show. But then again, it still feels a lot more normal compared to Season 3. Okay, so now we hit Season 3, and this is where SpongeBob stops pretending to be a kid's show and starts having a mental breakdown. This season starts with goofy chaos, like in Chocolate with Nuts. SpongeBob and Patrick decide to get rich by becoming door-to-door salesmen. Seems innocent, right? Until they start scamming people with pyramid schemes. It's weird, but still fun. Then there's Nasty Patty, and this is where it gets dark. SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs think they've poisoned a health inspector, so naturally, they bury the body behind the restaurant. As if that is a normal solution. It's played out for laughs, obviously, but still feels dark. And just when you think it can't get more unhinged, we've got Rockabye Bivalve, the story where SpongeBob and Patrick accidentally adopt a baby clam and form a dysfunctional marriage, where SpongeBob becomes the overworked housewife and Patrick is the deadbeat dad watching TV. They argue, they cry, but in the end, they stay together for the clam. It's not even a parody, it's just a marital drama in fish animation. So yeah, finding a normal episode in this pile of chaos? Pretty rough. But then, we find a little time capsule called the Krusty Krab training video, and suddenly, things feel kind of normal again. It's literally just a mock orientation video. You've got the cheesy narrator voice, awkward graphics, and way too much enthusiasm about mopping. It's like watching a VHS tape from your parents' shed. This is an old school style video on how to flip burgers. That's it. And the most important part? No weird stuff. Like, this could pass for an actual training video, except maybe the whole POOP acronym, which stands for People Order Our Patties, obviously, and we get violently cut off before learning the Krabby Patty secret formula. But still, this thing's basically satire gold. It roasts training culture, fast food brainwashing, and SpongeBob just doing what he always does, being aggressively good at his job. And you know what? Compared to everything else in this season, this is probably the most structured, realistic episode in the whole season. Could you technically say one Krabs trash is grounded? I mean, Mr. Krabs sells junk, SpongeBob buys a cursed soda drinking hat, then a grave rubber threatens them. Okay, no, never mind. Absolutely not. Midlife crustacean, where Mr. Krabs has an existential crisis and goes on a weird guy's night out and does the infamous panty raid, which Nickelodeon later banned. So yeah, not exactly grounded, more like, this did not age well. So yeah, the Krusty Krab training video is the least insane episode in Season 3. It's the last breath of sanity before the ocean goes feral in the future. Alright, buckle up. Season 4 is where things start to feel off. The animation gets shinier, the jokes get weirder, and SpongeBob's face starts doing things faces shouldn't do. But the big reason for the chaos is caused by Steven Hillenburg stepping down from his role as the showrunner. After the SpongeBob movie, the original creator passed the torch, and the show started tasting chaos, and then decided to marry it. Now, almost every episode starts normal, until SpongeBob's face turns into a Picasso painting or someone explodes because of a sandwich. But then, like a shining beacon of semi-functionality, we got Skill Crane. The story is simple. Mr. Krabs installs a claw machine. SpongeBob gets addicted, Squidward joins in, and they both mentally collapse in real time. It's basically a Vegas cautionary tale in C form. SpongeBob becomes a claw god, and Squidward becomes a claw clown. Addiction? Check. Rage quitting? Check. Capitalism exploiting everyone? Double check. In a season where SpongeBob meets a sea wizard, Squidward gets psychologically tortured by a clarinet recital, and Plankton turns into a chubby, mind-controlling blob, Skill Crane is refreshingly simple. Addiction is bad, capitalism is worse, don't trust the claw. And yet, this is the sanest we're gonna be for a while. You'd think it couldn't get worse. Then Season 5 hits you with new digs. SpongeBob is late for work once. Just once. And instead of setting an alarm, he decides to move into the Krusty Krab. He brings his bed, his snail, his emotional baggage. He lives there now, and no one really stops him. Mr. Krabs is just thrilled someone's working overtime for free. Squidward on the verge of violence, and SpongeBob just living his best dystopian dream. This episode isn't weird because of some freaky fish magic. It's weird because it's relatable. It's a pure, unfiltered capitalism and co-worker burnout. We've come full circle. Nothing else in this season even comes close to normal in my mind. Really. There's To Love a Patty, in which SpongeBob falls in love with a Krabby Patty and goes full rom-com psycho. That's not even a metaphor. He literally dates a sandwich and has a meltdown when it starts rotting. Nope. There's Breath of Fresh Squidward, where Squidward gets electrocuted and turns into a maniacally happy zombie of himself. SpongeBob is deeply threatened by this new positivity. This one feels like an energy drink ad gone wrong. The original Fry Cook is about emotional daddy issues and the workplace inferiority complex. Weirdly grounded, but there's a guy named Jim who looks like a sentient baked potato and flips burgers like a god. So close, but still a little too extra. So yeah, compared to the rest of Season 5, this episode is like shockingly restrained. It's just a workplace sitcom plot. Mildly weird? Sure, but not SpongeBob weird. This is sitcom weird. This one could be an episode of Friends with minor adjustments. Like, very minor. And then Season 6 happens. The animation? Shiny. The close-ups? Cursed. The logic? Non-existent. And somehow, the most normal episode of the season is one literally titled Not Normal. Poetry at its finest. The plot summary for this one is that one day, SpongeBob watches a self-help video, which is already hilarious, and decides he's too weird. So he embarks on a journey of self-erasure, smoothing out every spiky edge of his bubbly nonsense to become normal. He starts acting like an actual human being. He talks normally, walks normally, and even dresses like a 1950s accountant. It's disturbing, but intentionally so. He even wears pants, like regular people's pants. That's how serious this is. Everyone around him is freaked out, and honestly, so am I. But underneath all the beige and horrifying small talk, it's a real arc. It's literally about identity, conformity, and the soul-crushing pressure to be normal. But by the end, SpongeBob realizes being boring is worse than being weird. And thank God, because if I had to watch another scene of him talking like a walking TED Talk, I might have snapped too. It's a relatable arc. It's a story about fitting in versus being yourself. That's like textbook grounded sitcom energy. Sure, it's got exaggerated visual gags and weird moments, but the core is solid. This episode wants to be not normal and fails beautifully. And you know what also fails beautifully? The following season. Oh boy, Season 7. Welcome to the nuclear waste zone of SpongeBob. The season is so cursed, even some fans talk about it like it's Voldemort. The "we don't speak of it" season. For some of you who aren't really familiar, this is the era of overused gross-out. Characters acting like they've been lobotomized, and plot lines that feel like someone got dared to write SpongeBob fan fiction at 3 a.m. with some booze. And yet, somehow, some way, we need to find the most normal episode in here. Let's review our options. Starting with Greasy Buffoons. It's an episode about SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs starting a grease war with Plankton. Ends in fire and clogged arteries. Funny, but still gross, and lots of chaos. Maybe One Course Meal, where Mr. Krabs weaponizes Plankton's phobia to the point of suicide ideation. Whoa, okay, chill. Growth Spout, in which Pearl turns into a kaiju because she's hungry? Definitely not normal. What about Buried in Time? They accidentally bury themselves alive for fun. Yeah, no. Oh, what about this one? Tentacle Vision. The episode about a local TV show and nothing explodes? We'll take it. The plot is about Squidward starting a public access TV show from his house. But SpongeBob and Patrick immediately ruin it with their usual brand of help.
It's heavy.
Classic. That's it. That's the plot. Just a wannabe influencer and two loud neighbors. Even Krabs shows up and doesn't commit tax fraud. Just tries to sell ads. For this season, that's a miracle. Tentacle Vision wins by default and by bare minimum effort. And just when you think it couldn't get any more off the rails, Season 8 shows up wearing a suit, trying to convince you like everything's fine. The animation looks a little cleaner. The pacing feels a bit more slow. You might even start to think, maybe the show found its balance again. Yeah, that's what they want you to think. For this season's normal, we have accidents will happen. This episode starts off extremely tame. It's about Squidward having a little workplace incident and claims he's injured. But instead of calling HR like a normal employee, he just decides to fake an injury for free labor. This is literally a plot from every workplace comedy in the early 2000s. So naturally, SpongeBob becomes a one-man restaurant robot doing literally everything while Squidward lounges in a body cast eating bonbons. If you've ever worked retail or food service, this episode is like watching a documentary. You've got SpongeBob turning into a human stress ball trying to handle everything at once, relatable. Mr. Krabs panicking that he's going to lose money over an insurance claim, on brand. Squidward faking an injury to avoid working. Honestly, genius. It's grounded, it's corporate, it's relatable. But the same cannot be said for the rest of the season, such as Face Freeze, where everyone makes silly faces until their bodies lock up like a cursed emoji. And let's not forget, Bubble Buddy returns. Yep, he comes back, and brings a baby that's made of soap that poops bubbles. Why? Yeah, we found our winner. So the show got a little dramatic, but now we're headed into season 9. This is the new era of SpongeBob. The episodes are punchy, high energy, kind of fun again. You almost feel safe. But remember what I said before? The chaos never really left, it just learned how to smile. But we're still on our sacred quest. Find the one normal episode in a sea of sponge-induced chaos. And our winner is Tutor Sauce. This one is about SpongeBob that still can't drive, and Mrs. Puff basically giving up on him. So Mr. Krabs, genius that he is, decides he'll teach SpongeBob how to drive by himself, which goes about as well as you'd expect. Krabs is completely unqualified, SpongeBob is a moving disaster, and the entire town becomes a crash test zone. It's just a dude, a boat, and a boss trying to turn his employee into a delivery boy so he can save on gas money. If you've ever driven with your dad, you've lived through this episode. Let's look at the competition for a sec. We have Lost in Bikini Bottom, where SpongeBob gets lost in his own city and ends up living with a sewer-dwelling bottom feeder. Is this a metaphor for something? And I'm scared to know what. There's also Mall Girl Pearl, where Pearl tries to get a job at the mall. Feels normal until she goes through like 47 personality changes in 11 minutes. So a no-no. FoodCon Castaways is where everyone gets stranded on a desert island after a food convention trip goes south. Also, there's food-related hallucinations. Again, nope. So yeah, Tutor Sauce, our season 9 champ. Not flashy, not creepy, we love to see it. But now we're talking about the shortest season in SpongeBob history. Like, weirdly short, with only 11 episodes. Clean, quick, and innocent looking. And for a second, you'd think, maybe we'll get a breather. Spoiler alert, we don't. So what's the most normal episode of season 10? Drum roll, please. Whirly Brains. Just kidding. That's the one where they literally rip their brains out and fly them like drones. No sanity there. Let's talk about the actual contender. Feral Friends, a surprisingly calm episode about marine biology? Yeah, I'm serious. On paper, it sounds like another acid trip. A glowing moonfish zaps the town and turns everyone into realistic sea creatures, like actual National Geographic animals. It's weird, but it's also scientifically accurate. Even with the fish ray part, this one still feels normal in a way that characters behave in realistic ways once they de-evolve. SpongeBob becomes a literal sponge. Patrick is flopped on a rock. Sandy, who's immune to the fish beam because she's a mammal, has to rescue everyone while they de-evolve into their true forms. That's a solid plot. A coherent, logical, even science-based story arc. Steven Hillenburg actually used his major degree properly for once. Well, the visuals are still creepy, but in an artsy short film way. Not a Squidward's toenail explodes way. The stakes are about survival too. Not, we accidentally summoned a jellyfish god, just marine zoology with a weird twist. That's my best pick, I think. Compared to the other episode, this one feels mild. There's also Code Yellow, an episode where SpongeBob becomes a plastic surgeon and starts reconstructing Squidward's face mid-surgery. Yeah, no. It's the only episode in season 10 that could low-key air on Animal Planet if you muted the scream parts. It gives a tiny bit of educational value, has actual tension, and a single character trying to solve a problem. So far we've survived Grease Wars, retail breakdowns, crash test lessons, brain fight, and even live-action SpongeBob. But this is where the show starts to go full throttle. Season 11 doesn't just break logic, it breaks the laws of physics, narrative, and sometimes common decency. If you thought we'd hit the peak of weird, you are so not ready for what comes next. We've officially entered season 11, where SpongeBob's eyelids have frames of animation, and the background fish are more expressive than before. But guess what? We found our normal episode on the first try. It's called The Checkup. To sum it up, Mr. Krabs is overdue for a required physical exam. If he doesn't pass it, the Krusty Krab gets shut down. So what does Krabs do? Being the penny-pinching crustacean that he is, he goes full drama queen mode and tries to fake his way through the physical. Naturally, SpongeBob and Squidward have to trick him into going, which leads to more funny shenanigans. Classic. But hey, workplace healthcare in America is worse. The man really said, "I'd rather die than pay a medical bill." It's incredibly human behavior, Mr. Krabs is just a dude who really doesn't want to go to the doctor. The stakes? Entirely realistic. If you don't get your physical, your business gets shut down. That's some OSHA-level realism right there. On the other hand, the rest of the season doesn't really have realism. Take Krabby Patty Creature Feature, for example, with an experimental patty that turns everyone into creepy meat mutant fish monsters. It kinda sounds like the Last of Us plot, but with Patty. Or Man Ray Returns, where SpongeBob and Patrick try to turn Man Ray into a good guy via roommate bonding. It's like The Odd Couple, but one of them is a villain who will 100% kill again. It's a rare SpongeBob episode where everyone stays the same species the entire time. That alone puts it in the top 1% of normalcy. We got our normal quite easily for Season 11, but don't celebrate just yet because Season 12, that's where things start getting suspiciously stable. And you know what that means in this show? It's a trap. We have Boss for a Day in Season 12. A tale as old as time. Krabs loses his voice and temporarily steps away from the Krusty Krab. So SpongeBob is put in charge of the restaurant. So he fucks it all up, right? No, he runs it. Like normally. He holds meetings, he assigns tasks, he manages workflows. He makes, I kid you not, a schedule. Yeah, he's actually killing it. It's disturbingly functional if you ask me. Until he becomes a little, too into the manager role. He starts bossing everyone around like he's running a Silicon Valley startup out of the freezer, even though they work in a place that sells burgers shaped like flowers. So the team pushes back. SpongeBob realizes he needs to chill. Balance is restored. Boom. Done. Everyone is safe. It's a normal day with normal power dynamics, normal character decisions, and a tidy 3-act structure. You could low-key air this in Season 1, and nobody would notice. Which is rare praise for Season 12, a season that had episodes like Plankton's Old Chum, where the town becomes plague-infested with buckets of literal radioactive meat. Or The Krusty Slammer, where Krabs turns the restaurant into a literal prison. He locks up customers, like actually incarcerates them. For fun! This isn't satire. This happened. That's 2 semi-normal episodes in a row? Wow. Are things stabilizing? Does SpongeBob finally become a kid's show again? Nope. Because it's time for Season 13, where everything looks like a 3D scan of a lobster bisque, and the color grading makes you feel like you accidentally licked a highlighter. You've made it this far, so props to you for still having brain cells left. Most viewers checked out around the Patrick gets a new face era. This season alone brought up some of the most bizarre episodes of SpongeBob. Episodes like Something Narwhal This Way Comes, where SpongeBob and Patrick encounter Narlene and Nobby, 2 narwhal siblings who bring chaos to Bikini Bottom. Their antics lead to the whole town getting brainwashed. We also get A Skin Wrinkle in Time, telling the story of Grandpat accidentally causes a time-related mishap leading to various time-traveling adventures, like different eras of Bikini Bottom. But here we are deep in the HD Sponge Zone, still trying to find that one normal SpongeBob episode. And the winner of Season 13's Most Normal Award goes to Goofy Scoopers. It's about SpongeBob and Patrick just trying to do a new job at Goofy Scoopers. That's it. That's the plot. This episode is so normal, I had to watch it twice just to be sure it wasn't a prank. They're not saving the world, they're not destroying the town, they are scooping ice cream. The episode even tells about the time when they messed up. They get trained, they improve, they bond. It's like the Employee of the Month arc, but with sprinkles instead of Krabby Patties. There's even this moment where they're like, wait, this job is hard. And you can practically hear the collective sigh of every retail worker watching. Just 2 idiots scooping ice cream and trying not to get fired. You can watch it and actually remember what happened afterward, which is more than I can say for Squid Ferratu. Don't ask, don't Google it, just no. And now we reach the present. Season 14 and 15 is basically one, and Season 15 is still ongoing. But at the time of making this video, Student Driver Survivor is our final beacon of sanity. Mrs. Puff's got a competitor driving school, and it took every single one of her students. Well, except for SpongeBob. But she can't pay her bills without all the students, so instead she milks every single extra class from SpongeBob for an extra fee. Anytime, anywhere. In the middle of the ice, in the mountain, even in the late night. And you guessed it, it leads up to SpongeBob trashing down half of the city. Seeing this is going nowhere, Mrs. Puffs realized the only way to get her students back is to destroy the competitor by sending Spongebob there, because the boy will make sure everything blows up when he's behind the wheel. Turns out the other instructor was a fraud, selling fake licenses. So SpongeBob accidentally takes down an entire scam. Good ending. Honestly, it could pass as a lost Season 2 episode if you blurred the HD textures. That's our Season 14 sanity so far, and possibly our last one. And that's a wrap, kids. You now hold the sacred knowledge of the most normal SpongeBob episodes in your brain. If anyone ever asks you, is SpongeBob really that weird? The answer is yes, but there were a few days where it wasn't. Next up, we're flipping the switch. Every time SpongeBob was a complete psycho. And trust me, that list was way easier to make.